Nari's stomach made a sound again, loud, angry, empty. She wrapped her thin arms around her belly, trying to press down the pain. Her boots were worn out, coat 3 sizes too big, had holes along the sleeves. She had patched it with bits of thermal tape, but even that was peeling now. The artificial sun had just blinked on over Station Axelin, painting the metal corridors in soft yellow light. It looked warm, but warmth didn't feed her. She moved through docking ring C, knocking on cargo doors, side panels, and even trader cabins. I can clean floors. Fix crates, please. I just need work, she said. The first door closed before she even finished her sentence. The second didn't open at all. At the third, a lizard-faced merchant opened the hatch, stared at her with glowing orange eyes, and sneered, "Xerxborn, go away." The door hissed shut. Everywhere she went, it was the same. The moment she said where she came from, Xerx9. They looked at her like she was already stealing from them. It's like she wasn't a person, just a warning sign. Xerx9 was a failed colony. 10 years ago, its leaders had tried to break free from galactic law. The rebellion was crushed. Survivors were scattered, branded as untrustworthy, criminal by blood. Nari wasn't even born when the war happened. But that didn't matter. She wandered until her legs shook. Her mouth felt like paper. Her last sip of water had been yesterday. Her last food, crushed ration bar she found in a trash bin. She sat on the floor near a recycling shaft. Closing her eyes for a second, she whispered, "Just one chance. That's all I ask." The shaft word open. Beside her, she jumped up quickly, hoping for a food scrap, but a voice spoke instead. "You're blocking my service panel." She turned and saw a man, human, broad shoulders, grease-stained gloves. He wore simple repair overalls, sleeves rolled, and a calm expression on his face. His skin was tanned from solar welding, his eyes the color of cold metal. She stood up straight. "Sorry, didn't know, please. Do you need help?" "I can clean, organize tools, carry parts." He didn't answer for a few seconds, then asked, "Name, Nari, origin, Xerx9?" He didn't slam the panel, didn't yell, but his face lost all kindness. "Why would I trust a Xerxborn?" Her lips parted. She didn't have an answer. Not one he would believe. He turned back toward the panel, muttering something under his breath. She began to back away, but stopped herself. Her pride had died days ago. "I haven't eaten in 2 days," she said softly. "Not a thief. I'm just desperate." Man paused. He didn't turn around. "Follow me," he finally said. Her heart jumped. She didn't ask questions. She walked quietly behind him as he led her through a maintenance tunnel that curved below the main station rings. It was dark, filled with humming machines and flickering lights. They stopped outside a small storage bay marked J-74 drone. Repair. Inside were shelves of broken robots, tangled wires, and strange-looking tools. There was a small heater in the corner. A crate served as a table. 2 overturned toolboxes acted as chairs. He pointed. "Sit." She obeyed. He went to the back and returned with a sealed meal pack. He tossed it on the table. Adi stared at it like it was gold. "You can eat it," he said, "but I'm not giving you a job yet. Not until I see if you're trouble." Ish opened the packet slowly, hands trembling. The smell of warm protein mash filled the room. Her mouth watered painfully. She didn't speak, didn't even look up. She just ate, carefully, as if it might be taken away. When she finished, he leaned against a crate and asked, "What can you do?" "I can weld a little, sort wires. My mom taught me basics before. She stopped before she died." He nodded slowly. "I've got old drones that need repairs, useless to most. If you can get one flying again, we'll talk about payment." She nodded quickly. "I'll try. Anything." He turned away, picking up a toolkit, but before she could move, he said one last thing. Not a command, just a statement. "This is not a bed, not a shelter. It's not a trade for your body." She froze. Her hands tightened in her lap. "I wasn't offering that," she whispered. "Good," he said, "because I don't take what's not freely given. And even then, I think twice. That's the toolkit beside her feet. Let's see what you're made of? Xerox girl. Asterix, the workshop buzzed with an old ceiling fan that barely moved the stale air. Nari sat on the cold floor with a half-dismantled drone in front of her. The parts were older than her. Rusty, burned, and marked with serial numbers from a war she'd only read about in outdated school books. Her fingers were cracked and shaking, but she kept working. She didn't ask questions. She didn't complain. She didn't even stop to rest. The human man didn't say much. He watched. Measured. Every so often, he tossed her a wire or handed her a new tool without saying a word. By the end of the third hour, the drone blinked once. Then it buzzed weakly and collapsed. Closer than I thought you'd get, he said, finally breaking the silence. I'm still trying, replied quietly. He walked to a shelf, pulled out another packet of food, and dropped it in her lap. She flinched at first, then looked up at him. He wasn't smiling, but something in his eyes had softened. You'll sleep here, he said. That corner. It's dry and safe. You'll help me in the mornings and you'll eat. That's the deal. Nari couldn't believe it. She blinked, as if checking if she heard him right. No more asking for jobs, he added. You've got one. Don't ruin it, she nodded. She didn't trust her voice to hold steady. That night she curled. Up in the corner he pointed to. A worn tarp and a crate were her pillow. The hum of broken drones surrounded her. For the first time in weeks, she felt something strange quiet. Not peace, not safety, but quiet. She awoke to a high-pitched sound. Not an alarm, not a voice, just a slow electronic beeping. When she opened her eyes, the man was gone. She sat up quickly, confused. The workshop was dark, except for the red light blinking on a console near the back. She approached it carefully. The screen flashed a warning in Galactic Standard. Power. Leak detected North Valvo 2. She stepped back, unsure if she should touch it. Then the side door slid open, and the human entered carrying a thermal rod and some kind of tech pack slung over his shoulder. You didn't lock the door? She said. He looked at her, sweat running down his neck. No one comes down here. Too many old secrets. She didn't understand what that meant, but she didn't press. I can help, she offered. You don't know how. Then teach me, he hesitated. For the first time, she noticed how tired his eyes looked. Not just from lack of sleep, but from years of hiding something heavy. He pointed at the table. Open that box. Bring the green gel pack. She rushed to do as told. For the next hour, she followed his steps, holding tools, adjusting wires, resetting failed relays. The power leak was deeper than expected. One wrong step and it would shut down half the station's life support grid. You know, he said without looking at her, you should have run the moment I said Xerox. I've been running my whole life, she replied. They worked in silence after that. There was nothing more to say. By the end of the repair, her hands were black with grease. His shirt was soaked, but the leak stopped. The beeping ended, and the console screen flashed green. He pulled out a flask and took a sip before handing it to her. Water. He said. She drank, trying not to gulp. It was cold. It felt like hope. That evening, they didn't eat in silence. He finally spoke. While wiping tools, my name's Reven, he said. Used to work on top-tier engineering fleets. She looked at him, surprised. Then what are you doing down here? He shrugged. Some jobs make you rich. Others make you hated. She didn't ask more. He leaned back. You fixed a drone I gave up on. Most would have just broken it further. She smiled faintly. I didn't have much else to do. He studied her again, eyes sharper this time. You didn't come here just for food, did you? Her smile faded. Came because I had nothing left. They sat quietly again. But that night, something changed at midnight. She woke up. The tarp had shifted. She reached for it, but stopped when she heard whispers, low voices near the outside tunnel. She crawled closer to the door. Two figures stood beyond the metal grate. She couldn't make out faces, but she heard the words, You sure he's still got it? Yeah. And now there's a girl with him. From Xerox, I think. That makes it easier. Boss wants them both. She didn't breathe, didn't move. Only when the voices faded did she rush to Riven. She shook him awake. "They're coming," she said, breathless. "They want something." "And me?" Riven sat up instantly. His eyes weren't sleepy. They were alert, ready. He opened a hidden compartment behind a console. Inside was a blaster, old but charged. "Then we don't have time." He handed her a stun baton. She stared at it, confused. "I don't know how to fight. I'll learn fast," he said, "because now you're part of my secret. And they don't let people like us walk away." Asterisk. The power was still steady in the station walls. But Nari's hands trembled. She had never held a weapon before, not even a stun baton. It felt cold, too heavy for someone like her. Riven didn't give her time to panic. He was already moving fast, silent, like a man who had done this before. "Stay behind me," he whispered. "If anything happens, hit for the knee, not the chest, the knee." They stepped into the outer maintenance corridor, dark and narrow. The air smelled of old copper and dust. The noise from earlier, those quiet voices, was gone. But Nari could feel something in the air. Like the station itself was holding its breath. Riven crouched near a vent and pulled out a handheld scanner from his belt. It buzzed softly, the screen showing thermal signatures. "2 of them," he said. "Not guards, not station security. Smugglers." "Why us?" Nari asked, her voice low. He glanced at her. "'Cause you fixed that drone." "I didn't mean to. You woke up something they want, something dangerous." She stared at him. "What did I fix?" He didn't answer. Instead, he motioned toward a side shaft. "Get back. I'll come through the front. I'll stall them." "No," she said quickly. "We can't split." He looked at her again, this time longer. "You're braver than I thought," he said. "Fine. Then follow my lead. Don't freeze." She nodded, though her legs were already unsteady. Minutes passed. Then the front entrance hissed open. 2 figures stepped in, moving like shadows. One was a tall insectoid, with twitching antennae and long fingers. The other was a pale-skinned alien with a breathing mask and 2 black blasters at his hips. Riven stood with his hands raised. The insectoid hissed, "We're not here to shoot." "Then what do you want?" Riven asked calmly. The pale one stepped forward. "That drone. The one you activated." "You have no idea what you've done." "It was scrap," Riven replied. "It was buried for a reason." The alien's voice was cold, but full of fear. Real fear. That model belonged to the Iron. Ghosts. Banned after the massacre on Varga 13. Only a few remain. Riven didn't blink. "Still junk to me." "But not to the shadow market," the insect hissed. "Someone paid a high bounty. It's not just for the drone, but for the girl who fixed it." Nari's heart dropped. "Why?" she whispered. The pale alien turned toward her voice. His black eyes narrowed behind his mask. "Because only someone with a very specific neural signature could have reactivated it. That signal doesn't exist anymore, except in one place, Sarix 9. Riven slowly stepped between them. "You're not getting her." The alien's hand moved to his blaster asterisk. The moment the pale alien's hand reached for his blaster, Riven lunged forward. His movements were sharp, practiced, no wasted energy. The stun baton swung in a wide arc, striking the alien's wrist. A sharp crack echoed as the weapon slipped from the pale one's grip, clattering on the metal floor. Nari's breath caught. The insectoid hissed and lunged at Riven, claws outstretched. Riven barely dodged, grabbing a loose pipe from the wall and using it like a staff. The pipe struck the insect's claw with a loud clang, forcing it back a step. Nari's hands shook, but she remembered what Riven had said. Hit for the knee. She gripped the stun baton tightly, stepping forward. The insect turned toward her, eyes flashing with anger. Without thinking, Nari swung the baton low, connected with a solid thud against a joint, and the insect let out a sharp cry, stumbling backward. Riven took advantage, pushing the pale alien toward the workshop door. "Run!" he shouted. Nar hesitated only a moment, then sprinted. Her heart pounded as she ran down the narrow corridors. the sounds of battle fading behind her, but safety was still far away. As she rounded a corner, a loud alarm blared through the station. Red lights flashed. The automated security system had detected the fight. Containment lockdown initiated. A robotic voice announced. Metal doors slammed shut along the corridors, trapping her in a small chamber with no exit. She pressed her hands against the cold steel. Panic crept in. She was alone, trapped, and the people hunting her were still somewhere out there. Minutes passed, feeling like hours. Then a small screen on the wall flickered to life. A message scrolled across it. Zarek's born, subject located, transfer to custody. For interrogation? Nara's eyes widened. They weren't just after the drone anymore. They wanted her. Or something bigger. Suddenly the door beside the screen hissed open. Riven stepped inside, breathing hard, his clothes torn in places. "We don't have much time," he said. "The whole station is locking down. If we don't get out soon, we'll be caught." Shh. She looked at him, confused and scared. But how? "The doors are closing everywhere." Reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device no bigger than a palm. "This will override some of the locks, but only for a few minutes." He pressed a button, and the heavy steel door behind them slid open just enough for two people to squeeze through. They ran through dim corridors, past abandoned cargo bays and silent control rooms. The station was turning into a prison, and the shadows seemed to stretch longer with every step as they moved. Riven explained in hurried whispers, "The shadow market runs most of this station's black operations. They want that drone because it holds secret data coordinates to a lost fleet that can change power in the galaxy." Nari gasped. "But why me?" hesitated, then said, "Because you can repair what no one else can. Your bloodline carries." Something rare, she repeated, stunned. "Yes," Riven said softly. "Xeric survivors have neural patterns that can unlock old tech. You're the key." Nari swallowed hard. The weight of her origin pressed down on her more than ever. Suddenly, the floor beneath them trembled. A deep rumble echoed through the station. "What now?" she asked, voice shaking. Riven's eyes darkened. "The market knows we're here. They're sealing off entire sections. We need to move fast." They reached a junction where multiple doors led deeper into the station. Riven pulled out a holographic map from his wrist device, flicking through routes quickly. "There's an old maintenance shaft here," he said. "It's risky, but it's our best shot." She nodded, trusting him despite the fear knotting her stomach. As they entered the narrow shaft, the walls closed in tightly. Pipes and wires hung low. Every sound was magnified, their footsteps, their breathing. Suddenly from the darkness ahead, a figure stepped out. It was the insectoid. He blocked their path, claws ready, eyes blazing. Riven stepped forward. Weapon. Raised. Nara's hand gripped the stun baton tighter, ready to fight. The insect hissed, "You can't escape, Zarek's girl. You belong to the market now." Riven's voice was calm, but fierce. "Not today." The fight was brutal and quick. Riven and Nari worked together, their moves awkward but determined. With one final strike from Nari's baton, the insect collapsed. They caught their breath, knowing this was only the beginning. Outside the shaft, the station's sirens wailed. Louder. Riven looked at her with a new respect. "You're stronger than you know," he said. Nari met his gaze, feeling for the first time that maybe she wasn't just a forgotten girl from Xerx-9. Maybe, just maybe, she was someone who could change her fate. The narrow corridors of Station Axelon echoed with hurried footsteps and distant alarms. Nari's chest rose and fell quickly as she followed Riven through the winding maze of metal halls. Every shadow seemed alive, every sound a warning. They were far from safe. Riven's arm was bleeding from a shallow cut, but he didn't slow down. "We need to reach the old docking bay," he said, voice low but urgent. "There's a ship there, small, fast, but reliable. It's our only way off this place." Nari glanced at him, worry twisting her stomach. "You're hurt." He shook his head. "No time. They'll come after us. If we don't move, they'll trap us." Her hands trembled as she gripped the stun baton tighter. She wanted to be brave, but fear clawed inside her. Every step reminded her of the past. She tried to escape the shame, the hunger, the cold nights alone. Suddenly, a sharp sound rang out. A blaster shot. Riven dove behind a bulkhead, pulling Nari down with him. "Stay low," he hissed. Peeking around the corner, Nari saw two figures in dark armor rushing toward them. They carried heavy weapons, and their faces were hidden behind helmets that glowed faintly red. Riven fired first, his blaster crackling. One of the attackers staggered but kept coming. Nari hesitated, then swung her baton. The metal struck the attacker's knee, and he collapsed with a grunt. The other raised his weapon and aimed directly at Riven. Time slowed. Nari saw the flash, the heat of the shot before the blaster fired. Riven threw himself forward, pushing Nari out of the way. The shot hit his shoulder and he crumpled to the floor, pain twisting his face. "No," Nari cried. Riven gritted. His teeth go. Now. Tears burned her eyes, but she knew he was right. She couldn't save him here. She scrambled away, heart pounding. The corridor seemed endless. Her breaths came in short gasps. Finally, she burst into the docking bay. The small ship waited, its engines humming softly. A familiar symbol, the Galactic Engineering Corps, was painted, faded but proud on its side. She rushed inside, hitting the controls. The ship shuddered, lights blinking as systems came online, but then a cold thought froze. Her Riven, she should have stayed, fought, saved him. Her hands shook as she flipped switches and pulled levers. Outside, footsteps echoed. She spun around just in time to see the two armored figures burst in. "Give her to us," one growled. Nari's eyes darted across. The cramped cockpit, the hatch, the escape pod. Nothing was ready. She lunged at the closest attacker, swinging the baton with desperation. The metal met armor with a loud clang, but the attacker barely flinched. Then she felt a heavy hand grab her arm. Pulling hard, she twisted, knocking the hand away and kicking hard. The attacker stumbled back. In that moment, the ship's engines roared to life. Alarms blared. The hatch sealed with a hiss. The attackers pounded on the walls. Shouting curses, Nari's breath caught as the ship lifted off, leaving Station Axelin. Behind, she sank into the pilot's seat, tears spilling down her cheeks. The pain inside her was more than the loss of Riven. It was the weight of everything she'd run from. But then, soft beep interrupted her thoughts. The ship's main console flashed with a message, "Incoming transmission, classified." Nari pressed the screen. A holographic face appeared, sharp eyes, high cheekbones, and a uniform she recognized from old broadcasts. "Zarek's survivor," the voice said. "We have been tracking your signal. Your actions have not gone unnoticed." Nari's heart pounded. The hologram continued. "What you want to survive. Protect what you carry. Meet us at the Nova outpost. Alone." The transmission ended. Nari stared at the empty space where the face had been. "Alone," she whispered. "I'm not alone. I have to be strong. For Riven. For me." She gripped the controls tighter. The stars stretched out before her. Her journey was just beginning. The small ship cut through the blackness of space, its engines humming a steady song. Nari's hands gripped the controls tightly. Her mind raced. The transmission replayed in her thoughts, a mysterious message, a secret meeting, and the word that chilled her most: alone. She wasn't sure what waited at the Nova outpost, but she knew this was no ordinary invitation. It was a warning and a chance, both wrapped in shadow. The stars outside glittered cold and distant, but inside the air was thick with tension. Nari's thoughts drifted back to Riven. The pain in her chest was raw and sharp. He had taken the blaster shot to save her, and now she was alone, truly alone for the first time in years. Her heart ached, but she forced herself to focus. There was no room for doubt. Survival meant moving forward, no matter what. After hours of silent travel, the outpost appeared. A lone structure orbiting a small, dead planet, its lights flickering like a distant beacon in the void. As Nari approached, the ship's systems warned of a security scan. This place was protected, not by friendly forces, but by those who did not want strangers. The docking bay opened slowly, releasing a hiss of cold. Recycled air. Nari stepped into the station, every step echoing through the sterile halls. She was alone, just like the message said. The lights flickered as she moved deeper, past locked doors and empty corridors. The silence was heavy. It pressed down on her like a weight. Then a voice, calm, yet filled with authority, broke the quiet. "Welcome, Nari of Xerix 9. She spun around to see a tall figure emerging from the shadows. It's a woman, wearing the uniform of the Galactic Engineering Corps, but with a badge she didn't recognize. "I am Commander Lyra," the woman said. "We have been watching you." Nara's fist clenched. "Why? Who are you really?" Lyra smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Because you're more important than you know. You carry a secret that could change everything." Nari felt a chill. "I fixed a drone, that's all." Lyra stepped closer. That drone was part of an ancient fleet. The Iron Ghosts? Their technology was lost after a great war, but it holds power. Power your people once used to fight tyranny. "Why me?" Xerix survivor. "Because the neural imprint you carry is unique. It can unlock the fleet's secrets, but others want it too." Dangerous forces. Nari swallowed hard, and Riven. Lyra's face tightened. "He was protecting you. He believed in you. But his enemies are relentless." Nari's eyes burned. "I want to fight." "To finish what he started," Lyra nodded slowly. "Good, but you will need help training. Allies." She led Nari to a large room filled with holographic displays and weapon racks. "You'll learn to control what's inside you. To become a true engineer and warrior." Nari's breath caught. The path ahead was harder than she imagined. But this was her chance. Suddenly an alarm blared through the station. Lyra's eyes flashed. "They've found us. The shadow market never gives up." Nari felt her heart pound. The battle was coming, and this time she would not run. Asterisk, the alarms echoed through the walls of Nova Outpost, sharp and unrelenting. Nari's heart pounded like a war drum as she raced through the corridors beside Commander Lyra and a small group of armored soldiers. They moved fast, weapons ready, every step a countdown to the battle that was about to unfold. Outside, the dark void of space was suddenly lit by flashing lights from incoming ships. Fleet had arrived, more vicious and numerous than Nari had imagined. "This is it," Lyra said, her voice steady but urgent. "Hold your ground. Protect the outpost. And protect her." Nari's fingers trembled on the handle of a sleek plasma rifle. She thought of Riven, the man who had risked everything to save her, and the promise she had made. She would survive. Not just for herself, but for him. The first wave crashed against the outpost's defenses. Laser fire painted the darkness in deadly streaks. The soldiers fought with precision and fury. But the enemy was relentless. Nari ducked behind a metal pillar, her pulse racing. A tall figure with glowing red eyes broke through the smoke and charged at her. She raised her rifle and fired. The beam struck true, and the figure staggered back, collapsing in a heap. But more came. Her training with Lyra had been brief, but intense. She could feel something awakening inside, a surge of focus and strength she had never known. Her hands moved faster, her mind clearer. She fought like she had a purpose that went beyond survival, amid the chaos. A sharp alert flashed on her wrist device, a signal from the drone she had repaired months ago, now orbiting nearby. It had intercepted enemy communications, revealing their command ship's location. Naria's eyes widened. "This is the key," she shouted over the battle noise. "Destroy their command ship, the fleet will collapse." Lyra nodded. End this." Together, they organized a strike team. Nari piloted a small fighter, her hands steady as she guided it through the storm of enemy fire. Her breath hitched as the command ship came into view, massive, dark, and bristling with weapons. The enemy opened fire. Her fighter shook violently, but Nari stayed calm, using every skill she had. She dodged blasts and locked her weapons on target. The moment she fired, the ship exploded in a brilliant burst of fire and metal. The enemy fleet faltered, their formation broken, Back at the outpost, the soldiers pressed the attack, driving the survivors into retreat. When the last ship vanished into the stars, silence fell. Nari sat on the floor,
Oh.
breathless but victorious. Lyra approached, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You did it," she said softly. "You saved us all." Nari looked up, tears shining in her eyes. "It wasn't just me," she said. "It was Riven's courage, your trust, and my choice to fight." Lyra smiled. "You're no longer just a survivor from Xerix 9. You're a leader, a protector, symbol." Days later, Nari stood on the observation deck of Nova Outpost, gazing out at the stars. A message arrived, an official offer to join the Galactic Engineering Corps. She smiled. Her journey from hungry, desperate girl to warrior and hero was complete. And as she looked at the endless sky, she whispered, "This is only the beginning. The end."